Greetings everyone, I am Thomas the Retro Nerd, reviewing the games good or bad. You know, as a guy covering video games primarily released in the 90s, I feel like there was a lot of them that I need to cover.
The 90s was a very influential decade that brought us many great games that continue to influence gaming today as we know it. Donkey Kong Country, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot, Zelda Ocarina of Time. All these games are the ones I would like to cover this year, but either due to time or other projects, the games will be covered at a later time.
So instead of talking about the video games that I'm not going to be covering this year, how about we talk about a franchise that's going to be talked about regardless? So, to commemorate a special anniversary this year, today I'm going to be reviewing Pokemon Red and Blue! Oh, sorry Rocco. Even though we're going to be taking a look at Pokemon Generation 1 later on this year, or maybe next review, there is one franchise that I'm going to be reviewing for this video. Okay, well, I'm going to go to the game store to find a game to play then. Alright. To commemorate Sonic's 30th anniversary, we're going to be taking a look at the original Sonic Trilogy on the Sega Genesis.
The Sonic franchise is an interesting one, to say the least. Over the course of 30 years, Sonic has been in countless games and pieces of media. The Sonic series may not be as big as Nintendo's Mario, but it's still pretty big. From countless games, to multiple cartoon shows, to the longest-running video game comics spanning over 200 issues, and even having what's arguably the movie that beat the video game movie curse last year. I think it's fair to say that this franchise isn't going anywhere but up into the future. Not counting a few duds in terms of games. Personally, when it comes to Sonic, I would consider myself a casual fan. I first entered the franchise as a kid when I played Sonic Adventure back in the day, but I will later come to play the classic Sonic games via the Sonic Mega Collection on the GameCube, which is probably how a lot of people my age would play the games as well. I played through most of these games, but to be honest, I'm just a bigger fan of Mario. That being said, I cannot deny the legacy the Blue Blur gave us back then. Sega is a game company that started back in the 60s, and when the 80s rolled in, they wanted to tackle the home console market, and failed twice. Face it, Nintendo was at the top of the food chain, and no one could compete with them. If you were to go over to anyone's house in the mid-80s and they would play games, chances they have owned a Nintendo. Yeah, Sega had a hard time competing with Nintendo, so they created the Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis in North America, to compete with the NES. In order to get a horse that was fast enough in this race, Sega needed a mascot. And so, an initial contest was held in Sega of Japan to find a character that would have its own game that could compete with Mario. The designs of the characters were a wide variety, but in the end, Naoto Oshima and Yuji Naka would end up winning with a pitch that they had of the game titled Sonic the Hedgehog. Yuji Naka wanted to make a game built out of speed because he wanted to play World 1-1 of the original Super Mario Bros. Faster and faster each time. Back in the day, most games would have a title screen that would start you from the beginning every time. Yuji Naka saw this and wanted to create a game that if the player got better, they could complete it faster and faster each time. At the same time, Naoto Oshima sketched out the character named Mr. Needle Mouse on a used napkin of all things who had several inspirations. Mr. Needle Mouse was intentionally inspired by Mickey Mouse, with shoes based off of Michael Jackson, and personality based off of Bill Clinton.
These allegations.
In the end, Sonic would win, like I mentioned earlier, and would later release on the Sega Genesis on June 23rd, 1991.
The original Sonic the Hedgehog was a success, both critically and financially. So, how about we take a look at the original Sonic the Hedgehog over 30 years later and see if it still stacks up today. Doesn't feel right. Alright then, let's play.
The plot of the original Sonic is pretty simple, all things considered. At least compared to what we'll later get in the franchise. The evil Dr. Ivo Robotnik wants to take over the world by turning Sonic's furry animal friends into robots. It's up to Sonic to go across the South Island and stop Dr. Robotnik in 6 colorful and unique levels. In terms of controls, Sonic is relatively simple as are most 8 and 16-bit platformers. Sonic can build up speed by running, he can jump, and he can turn into a ball which allows him to roll. Levels for the most part are built around the things that allow Sonic to stick out when compared to other platformers, which is speed. Instead of just a straight line, levels take more of a curvy approach that features steep hills and loops, which allows Sonic to build up momentum. Momentum-based platforming is the name of the game here. And for the most part, I think the game does an okay job showing players the mechanics of the game. Sonic also has a unique health system with rings. Rings, like coins, are scattered all throughout the levels, and when 100 are collected, it grants you an extra life. But if you look at the top screen, Sonic keeps a hold of them even if you get over 100 rings, unlike coins in Super Mario Bros. Well, if Sonic gets hit, he will drop the rings he's holding, allowing him to take an extra hit. As long as you have one ring, you can take a hit. If you collect the rings again, you can take another hit. But if Sonic doesn't have any rings, he'll die in one hit, so make sure you get those rings. There are also a few power-ups Sonic can get in these item boxes, most of which are kinda standard. There's the boxes that give Sonic an extra life, boxes that contains a shield, boxes that gives him 10 rings, boxes that give him an additional speed that makes him faster, and of course traditional invincibility power-up. If you collect at least 50 rings and reach the end of either the first or second level of any given zone, then you can enter one of the 6 special stages.
Man, these damn special stages.
Okay, aside from the special stages that give me a migraine, they aren't that bad. You're supposed to navigate Sonic through the maze-like levels while he's in a ball formation for some reason, to where the MacGuffin items in this game, the Chaos Emeralds, are located. Get all 6 and you get a slightly altered ending with fat flowers. Aside from getting the better ending, you aren't missing much if you don't decide to get the Chaos Emeralds. But they're there for hardcore fans of Sonic. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a total of 6 levels, aka zones, that Sonic needs to travel through in order to stop Dr. Robotnik. Green Hill Zone is a fun first level, and it's Sonic's most famous level. Too bad Sega reuses this level a little too much. Marble Zone is a slow-paced level that gets a lot of hate. But you know what? This is my favorite level in the game, due to the music. Spring Yard Zone is a fun level with a ton of bumpers and hills that Sonic gains master speed from. Labyrinth Zone is possibly the worst in this game. Why is there a slow-paced water level in a game about speed? Yuji Naka, when designing Sonic, thought hedgehogs couldn't swim, and so Sonic isn't able to swim. Thank God this level wasn't the second zone in the game. Apparently when creating this game, Labyrinth Zone was intended to be the zone after Green Hill. But this was changed due to the difficulty of the level. All I can say is, fuck this zone, let's move on. Starlight Zone is a nice, bright, cheery level, which is nice compared to Labyrinth Zone's slow pace. And finally, we have the industrial final level, Scrap Brain Zone. Scrap Brain Zone is one of the hardest levels in the game, and if you don't believe me, try to keep your ring count above 1. Eventually, Sonic makes it to the final zone and battles with possibly the easiest final boss in this series, and makes Dr. Robotnik retreat for now, ending Sonic 1.
So that was Sonic the Hedgehog, a good start to the franchise and a fun game in general. While the first game may not be the best game ever, it still has its charm.
Masato Nakamura of Japanese band Dreams Come True may not be Koji Kondo, but he still did a fantastic job with the soundtrack. Overall, I recommend you give Sonic the Hedgehog a shot if you're looking to get into the franchise. But our story doesn't end here, as Sonic was bound to get a sequel with how popular the first game was. After development was completed and Sonic was released onto the public, the 2 main creators of Sonic split off onto 2 different teams for 2 different Sonic projects. Yuji Naka would relocate to America where he would begin to work on an average sequel, whereas Naoto Oshima would stay in Japan and work on an enhanced version of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega CD. The project Yuji Naka was working on would eventually turn out to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2, whereas the other project led by Oshima would turn out to be Sonic CD. That one can wait. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was eventually launched globally on Tuesday, November 21st, 1992, on the day infamously known as Sonic Tuesday. Ugh.
This one is considered to be the best installment of the original trilogy. And I don't even see it!
Sorry for jumping the gun here, but I just don't like this game as most fans do. Before I can tell you why, let's take a look at Sonic's second outing on the Sega Genesis. In Sonic 2, Dr. Robotnik returns with a new plot to construct the biggest weapon that's basically the Death Star, known as the Death Egg, in order to take over the world. So it's up to Sonic and his new sidekick Miles Tails Prower to travel across 7 new zones in order to stop Robotnik's plot for world domination. Like the first game, Sonic could build up speed by running as well as rolling down hills, but he could also build up speed on his own now with the newly added Spin Dash. By pushing down on the D-pad and holding it while simultaneously pressing the buttons on the controller, Sonic will be beginning to roll in place. By letting go, Sonic will blast off into bursts of speed, allowing him to basically generate momentum on his own. The Spin Dash is mainly useful for going uphill or dealing with certain enemies. I like this. Zones now are also only 2 acts long as compared to the 3-act structure from the first game. The one thing I will say that is definitely worse than the first game are the boss battles. Most of the boss battles can be taken down really easily by just jumping on top of them until they explode. I mean, the boss battle between Hilltop Zone and Oil Ocean Zone almost feel the same. And there's this one, where you can jump on top one of the Tiki statues in Aquatic Ruin Zone and just spam the boss with Sonic's jump to finish off the boss really quickly. Collecting victories and going by a checkpoint will allow Sonic to enter the 7 different special stages. Special stages are also back and in my opinion are worse here than the first game. Instead of the special stages in the first game that rotate around it, you navigate through 3D half-pipe stages. If you can get enough rings and maintain them throughout the 3 different portions of the special stages, you are awarded with one of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Yeah, this game introduced us to the 7th Emerald. Get all 7 and you get Sonic's strongest form, Super Sonic. To be honest, I just don't like these special stages, at least when compared to the ones presented in the first game. They require way more memorization, and it's also not fun when Tails is constantly getting hit because he moves slower than Sonic in these. But overall, minus a few differences and the special stages being completely different, Sonic 2 is more of Sonic 1. But that isn't wrong, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As for the levels, I would say that Sonic 2 is graphically more varied than the first game by a landslide. The first zone, Emerald Hill Zone, is very similar to Green Hill Zone, being a bright and cheesy grass level. Chemical Plant Zone is an industrial zone with chemicals all over the place, flooding it. This is my favorite zone. Also, this zone introduced us to speed boosters that'll be a requirement in the later games. Aquatic Ruin Zone is a zone that has a ruin aesthetics, but instead of lava, it's filled with water. Casino Night Zone, which also has my favorite song in the game, is a zone that takes place in a casino with slot machines Sonic can jump into. Hilltop Zone, which is a level with a hillbilly feel from this song. I do like Mystic Cave Zone for its atmosphere, though I hate the Firefly robots.
I get it. You're supposed to wait for them to stop glowing and then jump on them.
Oil Ocean Zone, another industrial level, but instead of toxic chemicals, it's filled with oil. And then there's Metropolis Zone. This is often considered to be the worst level in the game, if only for the bullshit enemy placement. This place houses 3 enemies that just wanted Sonic dead, calling them the Metropolis Zone Unholy Trio. Shellcrackers are robotic crabs that hit Sonic with their big extended claw, Slicer is a praying mantis robot that throws its claws at Sonic, and Astrons, which explode into 5 sharp metal pieces that can be hard to avoid. All 3 of these enemies are placed unfairly and kills was essentially a relatively tame level. Speaking of which, that's another problem with this game. The enemies come at you with no warning! All just because the camera in this game focuses on Sonic in the center. It does a shift to help see if a bandit is coming close, and with added speed, it makes it worse. Also, Metropolis Zone is the only zone with 3 acts in this game. Why? Well, when creating Sonic the Hedgehog 2, there was a zone conceptualized known as Genocide City, which is a name that suits Metropolis Zone. It was intended as a 1-act zone, but due to time constraints was put as Act 3 as Metropolis Zone. Whatever the case, this zone sucks! And then after Metropolis, there are 3 zones, each containing only 1 act. Sky Chase is an auto-scroller that has Sonic on top of Tails' plane, a tornado chasing after Robotnik's big sky ship. Wing Fortress Zone is a zone that takes place on the big flying aircraft that just loves bottomless pits. I lost a lot of lives on this one level because it got me nervous as fuck! And then there's the final zone of the game, Death Egg Zone. Death Egg Zone, much like Final Zone, is a stage mainly on the final boss of the game. And just like Final Zone, you don't have any rings from the start of the level. In Final Zone, the boss wasn't too hard, which nullified the fact that you didn't have any rings. Still, the boss has an easy pattern to follow. But here, the Death Egg Robo is a much harder boss, which can take some practice to beat. If you beat the Death Egg Robot, Sonic will jump out of the Death Egg and is rescued by Tails on the tornado, with a nice ending piece playing in the background. Overall, Sonic 2 may be a good game, but to be honest, I have more fun with the first game than I do with the second. Sonic 2 just feels dumbed down to me, at least when compared to the first game. While the Spin Dash is a cool move added to Sonic's arsenal, I feel like it takes away from teaching the player about momentum-based platforming. Not to mention the fact that the level design were made harder with more crushing blocks and bottomless pits, enemies that pop out every corner with no warning, and the fact that the game was made longer to beat even though saving your game is more common at this point. Seriously, I don't like beating this game in one sitting. But overall, Sonic 2 is still a good game that looks good and has another great soundtrack, with Masato Nakamura returning as the lead composer.
Now, don't take my opinion with a grain of salt. If you like this game, that's fine. I'm not gonna change your mind. But you're not gonna change mine either.
As for Tails, this is a good introduction to Sonic's best friend, but he does get in the way at some points. Hell, I would prefer the technical genius Tails that we got from the 3D Sonic games. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, much like the first game, was successful and warranted another sequel, so of course we were bound to get a third game.
Except one thing. This isn't Sonic 3. This is Sonic 3.
You see, when Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was in development, the game was much bigger than initially anticipated, so in order to cut down costs, Sega decided to split the game up into two parts. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was part 1, and Sonic & Knuckles was part 2. To cut to the chase, with the power of a lock-on technology, which is presented in the Sonic & Knuckles cart, which looks more like a Game Genie than an actual Sega game, allows us to combine both parts for the real Sonic 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This is mainly the true Sonic 3, and is considered the best installment ever.
And you know what? I'm with the fandom. I really love this game.
With enough distractions out of the way, let's play some Sonic 3. Before we get to the plot, I do want to mention this game has a save feature which makes this game more comfortable than relying on continues. Plus, I don't have to worry about beating this game in one sitting. Seriously, that was a pet peeve of mine. Anyway, Sonic 3 takes place after the events of Sonic 2, where Sonic and Tails on the tornado heading to Angel Island where the Death Egg crashes after the ending of Sonic 2. After getting there, Sonic is ambushed by a new character, Knuckles the Echidna, who is tricked by Robotnik in order to distract Sonic and Tails while he repairs the Death Egg. So it's up to Sonic, as usual, along with Tails, to stop Robotnik from taking over the world again, and hopefully knock some sense to Knuckles the Idiot!
Shut up!
Sonic 3 plays like Sonic 1 and 2, as you would expect, but there are two new playable characters in Tails and Knuckles, which we'll get to later, but for now, we'll be mainly covering the main campaign with. Sonic controls and feels just as he did in the last two games, but he also has access to a new move in this game, the Insta-Shield. While jumping and pressing the jump button again a second time while in the air, Sonic will use his new Insta-Shield move. Basically, the Insta-Shield is an attack that Sonic can use in mid-air that makes some enemy encounters and bosses a little easier. Speaking of shields, Sonic has 3 new power-ups he can find throughout levels. The Bubble Shield lets Sonic breathe underwater as well as bounce on the ground. The Fire Shield lets Sonic be invulnerable to flame-based attacks as well as glide for a few seconds. And the Electric Shield, one of my personal favorites, that allows Sonic to touch electricity as well as do an extra double jump. And it can also draw in rings, and that's why I really love this thing. There are also giant rings scattered throughout every zone in the game, which allows Sonic to enter one of the new special stages. In these special stages, Sonic is supposed to go around these 3D spherical areas to change all the blue spheres to red by touching them. Of course, being one of them will grant you a Chaos Emerald. But there isn't just 7 of them. Oh no! There are a total of 14 special stages in this game. By the second half of the game, the emeralds you have will turn into Super Emeralds. That is, if you get them, it gives Sonic a new version of Super Sonic, known as Hypersonic. Honestly, while Hypersonic is cool, I feel there isn't too much of the reason to hunt down the Super Emeralds, aside for bragging rights. One thing I feel Sonic 3 does way better than Sonic 2 is level mechanics. Sonic 1 was pretty simple in terms of level design overall, in terms of mechanics, with most levels being a straight shot to the goal with obstacles in Sonic's way. However, in Sonic 2, there were several levels like Metropolis that had stuff like the gears that you had to run that would rotate upwards as you ran. In Sonic 3, most levels have at least one interesting obstacle that Sonic has to overcome to make the levels way more interesting to play through. Boss battles are also an improvement, that there are 2 during each zone at the end of each act. For the most part, these bosses can't be beaten easily and have unique patterns that makes them less repetitive than the battles in Sonic 2. This is definitely the longest of the 3 Sonic games. If you're playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles anyway, with a total of 13 zones. Angel Island is a fun tropical zone that goes up in flames halfway through the first act. Hydro City is a fast-paced water zone that is much funner than Labyrinth Zone or Aquatic Ruin Zone. Marble Garden Zone is a ruins-type zone with many spikes all throughout the zone. Ish. Carnival Night is a carnival-themed zone with tons of bumpers. Ice Cap is one of the coolest levels in the game, with a really badass theme. I'm surprised that there wasn't a winter-themed level in the series before this. Speaking of music, did you know that Michael Jackson worked on the soundtrack for this game? That's right, the King of Pop himself worked on the music for our Sonic game. The reason Michael Jackson wasn't credited was for multiple reasons. Jackson didn't like the sound of the Genesis sound chip, but also due to Jackson's behavior around children, Sega distanced themselves from him. Overall, while he didn't work all on the soundtrack, it's still cool that he has some involvement. Okay, back to the zones. Launch Space Zone is a zone that has tons of construction throughout the level. Mushroom Hill Zone is a bouncy grass-type zone with mushrooms that Sonic can bounce on. Flying Battery is a fast-paced airship zone with a metallic feel. Sandopolis is a boring desert level with a cool desert aesthetic. Lava Reef is a zone that basically takes place in a cave with a ton of lava and fire. Hidden Palace is a zone where Sonic and Knuckles face off in the game that also shares the name of an unused Sonic 2 level. Sky Sanctuary is a one-act zone that takes place in the sky. I can understand why people love this level. Then there's Death Egg Zone, a cool final level which is kinda dark than any of the other zones. What makes this even better is that it has 2 designated zones dedicated for a boss battle, not just one. Near the end of Death Egg Zone, Sonic gets to battle a much bigger version of the Death Egg robot. Jesus. I had a hard time trying to beat this boss, but with enough practice, I managed to pull through. But then there is one last zone. If you manage to get all the Chaos Emeralds, you will unlock Doomsday Zone, the true final level, in which Sonic transforms into Super Sonic in an attempt to stop Dr. Robotnik from escaping with the Master Emerald. Eventually, Sonic recovers it and returns the Master Emerald, leaving with Tails from Angel Island on the Tornado. Speaking of Tails and Knuckles, you can play as either of these 2 characters by themselves. Tails can fly, unlike how he was basically a sprite swap of Sonic in Sonic 2. While obviously the game isn't much different, it is fun to explore using Tails' ability to fly. Heck, Tails can even swim, something Sonic still can't do 3 games in. Tails is definitely the easy mode of the game. Knuckles also handles differently from Sonic, as you would expect, being able to glide in the air, as well as break blocks just by punching them, hence the name. Knuckles has the harder routes in the game, but he sticks out enough in terms of gameplay to make a playthrough with him not repetitive. Overall, I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles takes what worked with Sonic 2 and refines it to make it a better experience. Since this game features multiple playable characters, this sure can be one replayable game. From the music, graphics, gameplay, and story, Sonic 3 feels more complete than Sonic 2. Sonic 3, in my opinion, is the best installment of the classic series. Not only does it provide a longer experience, but a funner one overall.
Overall, the classic Sonic games may not be my favorite game trilogy or the most important, but they're still a fun series of games that I recommend you take a look at if you have the chance. Hey Taz, I saw this game and picked it up since you were playing Sonic. Oh cool, what game did you pick up? I found a port of Sonic 1 on the GBA. I thought it was pretty cool. Rocco, do you have any idea of the game that you just bought? No, I thought it was just Sonic 1. It's one of the worst Sonic games of all time, you idiot!
I guess I have to go in depth with this one, like other reviewers. Sonic Genesis is basically the Game Boy Advance port of the first Sonic game. Sadly, it was released during the 15th anniversary of the franchise. The saddest point in the Speedster's career. For a while, these two games were considered the worst of all time. That is until Sonic Forces come around and said, "Hold my beer!"
Sonic Genesis is still awful, mind you. Don't believe me? Well, I'm afraid you have no choice.
Right as you turn on the game, you can see the main problem. First off with the positive. The graphics are perfectly aligned with the Genesis game. But this is where it crashes down. The game suffers from screen crunch. The viewpoint mainly focuses on Sonic, making it harder to see badniks coming out every corner of the screen to knock out all of your rings. Comparing it to the original version, it's just awful. Secondly, the frame rate is completely choppy.
It's so slow.
This game slows down all the time. This also causes momentum problems. Just look at the first Robotnik fight. What the hell? I'm bouncing on his head like it's nothing! Just look, it's impossible in the original game. Why is this an issue? What about the special stages? Fuck them. I got as far as Labyrinth Zone and I thought the original version was bad enough. With all the game's problems, it's virtually unplayable. The worst part is these levels drained all my lives and I game overed. Sonic Genesis is just a shitty port with shitty screen crunch with a shitty frame rate that has a terrible version of the Sonic 1 soundtrack that sounds like a donkey shitting. Only 2 words can summon this game. Outright trash! Overall, aside from that, I recommend you guys go and check out the classic Sonic games. They aren't perfect, but they're still fun, and that's what matters. This is a final editing note because I know some of you might want to see me cover Sonic Mania. I do have the game thanks to my buddy Ryan, but I don't have the time to do that. It's because I just wanted to focus on the original Genesis games. One day I will cover this game, but as of now, I'm all Sonic out.
I'm Thomas the Retro Nerd. Thank you all for watching. See you guys in the next review.